Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. We're having a few people sign on here last minute. The time is 3 o'clock, though, so we're about to start our presentation momentarily. Thank you for joining us for Brynka Beacon's Dirty Little Secret, Let's Talk Trash, Marketing Mail Delivery webinar. Okay, looks like we're going to get started. So we just want to first start by introducing the Brynka Beacon. This is a free monthly online webinar series that's going to provide a forum for sharing ideas within our mail services centers. We're super excited for the excellent response. We want to thank you all for joining us today. We know your most valuable asset is your time, and we thank you and feel privileged that so many of you had signed up to join us today. So we're going to start with our first free event, and today's title of our event is Dirty Little Secret, Let's Talk Trash. And we're going to first start with introducing the Brynka team. So I'm going to be your host today. My name is Jen Young, and I'm the Director of Sales for Brynka. We also have Brenda Fick, our President Online, as well as Joe Martinez, our Vice President, who is also the organizer of our presentation. And now a little bit about our topic. So the title of our discussion, Dirty Little Secret, Let's Talk Trash, Marketing Mail Delivery. And we have a very special first guest speaker today, and that is Lea Holt. Many of you may already know Lea. She's the recipient of the Lou Eichler Award of Excellence for Lifetime Achievement presented by NACM. She's retired with 30 years of service to the state of North Carolina, and an experienced business administrator, and she's demonstrated a history of working in higher education industry. Lea worked directly with the United States Post Office to develop, test, and release the Delivery Partner Program on behalf of NACM, and she's skilled at negotiation, nonprofit organizations, budgeting, business paneling, and operations management. Lea is also the president of Professional L Inc., and Lea's current clients include universities in the U.S. News Top 100 national and regional associations, along with multiple mailing industry companies requesting inclusion of ProLink's Best of Brands lineup. So we want to thank Lea for joining us today and being our first speaker for the Brynka Beacon. Welcome, Lea.
Thank you, Jen, and I'd just like to say good afternoon to everyone and welcome. First, let me thank all of you for taking time out of your busy day to join me for this session. And I'd also like to thank Brenda Fick and Brynka for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you today. So one of the topic of the day is truly about marketing mail, not just standard rate mail, but first class mail. And we want to talk about the problems that we have with this mail and how each and every one of us is handling that mail. So let's get started. So we know that undeliverable mail is a waste of resources. If you're in a mail center, whether it be a university or corporate, the military or a hospital, you know that you get indulged daily by tons and tons of marketing mail. And if you look through that mail or you spoke to the people who are getting that mail, if you choose to deliver it, you'll find that there are people on the list that have been dead for 15 years. There are people on the list who are no longer at your institution. A lot of the addresses are bad. We're going to talk about that today and ways to combat that. Things that everyone is doing to manage that type of mail, because we all know that, first of all, it is our dirty little secret, because there's a lot of people who don't know how much of that mail goes straight into the recycling bin. And second, we don't have time now to deal with this problem as the rise of packages are coming in with e-commerce. So we want to spend our labor time in the place it needs to be. Want to tell you that today, during today's session, we'll be providing you an opportunity to participate in the use of polls and question and answers. So one of the things we're going to do today is we're going to give you the opportunity to participate by clicking on your screen, and we want to do a poll right now. So before we get started with the presentation, here's going to be a poll that's going to show up on your screen momentarily, and just take a couple minutes or moments to complete this poll. The results are going to be shared immediately. So we're going to ask you about how you handle undeliverable mail that is waste in your center. So please take a minute to complete this poll. So I am not seeing the poll, but I would assume that it's being taken now. If somebody at Brynka or Joe wants to let me know if it's going on.
Yeah, so we have the results already in, Lee. The question was, what does your organization do with marketing mail? And we have about 5% of the people online deliver all of it. 59% of the people online only deliver pieces with a correct address. 27% of the recipients online, they spend labor hours doing lookups if address is incorrect, and 9% of the people online don't deliver any of it.
Okay, so great. So we have 5% of the people out here then that are delivering all of it and spending your labor hours. Then we have, on the other spectrum, we have 9% that don't deliver any of it. And in the middle, we have people that do something with it. So let's talk about that. Hopefully this will be beneficial today, and you'll learn some, be educated to some of the things that people are using. So why does the problem exist? Let's address that. So the United States Postal Service is not required to compile any data for businesses. And what that is referring to is, at my former employer, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, there's approximately 68,000 people on that campus. But the United States Post Office sees that campus as one entity. And there cannot be any change of address or forwarding that comes from individuals employed by that university to the post office to let them know that they're no longer there. So when a marketer gets a file, they have no way to know if the person on that file at the university is currently there, or whether they've been gone, or if they've changed jobs. So then that takes us to the next point: mailing companies using automated software. We all know that the post office requires that mailing lists be cleansed by the use of CAS, NCOA, and you have to DPV, which is delivery point verification, for your mailing list. One of the things that these companies cannot do is they cannot run NCOA and get any hits against your business. That creates a quandary for the post office, because we've been told that there's a scorecard, and the scorecard looks at all the different aspects of a mailing, and whether the pieces are being forwarded, or whether the list is correct, how many hits for the NCOA and CAS, so all those things. But what it does not do is look within that business or that corporation and match those records. We, as colleges and universities or business and corporations, have not historically communicated the issues that we have to the mailers. So when you go to a mailer and you explain to them that most of colleges and universities are handling their mail in a certain way, it's hard for them to believe that because they've not heard the message from us and we've not been very vocal about it, unless there have been some times across the past few years where NACM's members actually banded together and sent mailings back to corporations or companies and did get their attention. Operations providing last mile delivery are unaware of their rights. Do you know your rights as it pertains to mail delivery? Do you know what you are responsible to deliver and what you're not responsible to deliver and what your rights are as a business, corporation, or institution? So then we get to delivery operations under the impression that the post office requires you to deliver mail presented to your business, corporation, and institution. And we're going to get in depth with that here in just a minute. And then the last but not least, the mailing companies assume that mail sent through the post office requires an attempt at delivery because the post office tells them that give us your standard rate mail or your marketing mail now, as it's called, and provide us with your marketing mail. And also you can provide us with the piece electronically, and we'll do all these great things with it, but that doesn't work in our portion of the industry. Okay, so here we go. The Domestic Mail Manual, the book for the post office. The section is 508, recipient services. So 508.1.5, and let's go to point 1. This is mail to the address. All mail addressed to a governmental or non-governmental organization or to an individual by name or title is delivered to whom? The organization. As is similarly addressed mail for former officials, employees, contractors. Now, here's the catch about this statement. If disagreement arises where any such mail should be delivered, it must be delivered under the order of the organization's president or equivalent official. And when I have conversations with my colleagues, my former colleagues, the one thing I would ask them is, would you truly ask the president of the university whether or not you can or not deliver commercial mail and what most people would refer to it as junk mail? But we don't refer to it as junk mail. We refer to it as marketing mail, commercial mail. We try to be responsible and professional. So again, I want to challenge you, would you actually go to your CEO and say, oh, by the way, we're getting tons of this stuff and we'd like to stop delivering it. Do we have your permission? Or do you take the role, along with asking your next level supervisor and making sure that people know what you're doing, do you take the role of the equivalent official and make that decision for the company in the best interest of the company? So that's my challenge. Then, and again, it says it must be delivered. Well, it doesn't say it can't not be delivered under the order of. If the order is not to deliver and it becomes part of the business's decision for the best decision of their time, effort, and labor, then that's what it is. Again, we're talking about commercial marketing mail. I would never, ever suggest, because this actual statute could affect all of your mail because you own it once you get it. So if you had chosen to say, I'm not going to deliver any mail, which would not be what we would suggest, you have the right to do that. But what we would suggest is that we know that your business mail, your bills, your personal correspondence going to back and forth to units and divisions and programs is very critical to your organization's business, and it must be delivered, and we do our best to get it delivered as quickly as possible when we get it in our hands. But marketing mail has become, because of e-commerce and the internet and all those things, it's something that most everyone at your organization cares nothing about. So then we have point 2, which says not to the address. Mail addressed to the government or non-government official by title or name, so it says President, University of North Carolina, but not to the address of the organization, is delivered to the organization. University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, 70,000 people on that campus. That's faculty, staff, students, researchers. They have 5 hospitals. But if you put President, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27514 on a piece of mail, it will get delivered to the mail center. So again, this says that you have the right to make that decision. And the picture that you see here on the screen is actually from a bin, a recycling bin at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. So now we're going to talk about the problem and the numbers. So let's talk about commercial mail, marketing mail in an institutional setting. And what we can see here is that I think we've lost. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I lost some of my. So 16% of commercial mail can be delivered with some or no effort. 42%, the people are not there. The other 42% has some type of problem with the address. So on the government side, again, now you're going to have a little bit higher. 49% in the red is people no longer there. The 41% is addresses with problems, and the 10% is mail that could have the possibility of being delivered. So, footnote, mailers currently do not have a platform that allows verification of recipient information prior to sending the mail. There is no NCOA for business. Okay? All right. Let's talk about some costs for handling these pieces. So businesses and corporations spend approximately 43 cents per piece to distribute and then get it to the individual's hands, and then before there's a decision made. 1 in every 10 pieces is kept, so 9 pieces are recycled. I would dare say that anyone on this webinar today who is in a mail center that sorts and delivers mail understands this. Now, what we can see and what we would suggest is that you look at your mail stream. Currently, mail streams tend to be about 60% marketing mail, 40% some type of first-class mail. If you look at your first-class mail stream, you'll see that your first-class mail stream is also full of marketing mail. So why spend your time, labor, and effort to deal with this mail? Of that 60% of the standard rate or marketing mail, true marketing mail rate material, about 90% of that is mail that is unwanted, or maybe, yeah, it's probably about 90%. Maybe 10% is wanted. Sometimes that could be up to 95%. At the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill on February the 1st, which is tomorrow, 2016, which is 3 years ago, the university enacted a policy, a university policy. I created the policy, drafted it, gave it to my supervisor, who sent it to our legal counsel for the university. They read the policy, became educated on the issue, and approved the policy that UNC no longer delivers any marketing material, period. That affected 12,000 faculty and staff on that campus, February the 1st, 2016. As of today, from that 12,000 faculty and staff, they had 3 complaints. 3. 1, 2, 3. They had one person who complained, and they went and got 2 of their friends to complain. So those 3 people on that campus get their marketing mail every day. The other 11,997 people never see it and don't care. So when we talk about that, what we're saying is, for all of that mail that is not being handled in the departments, it is truly in the departments currently, because the mail hasn't stopped coming. It still comes into the mail center. The mail center makes the decision not to deliver it. Basically, what they do with the bundles that come in is they open up the plastic wrap and the strap. They throw the plastic wrap and the strap away, and they put the material in recycling. So for all of that mail, that 43% has been reduced, and the university is saving millions of dollars by not producing or not handling that mail. And if you ask the administrative clerical staff for the university whether they want that mail back or not, I'm sure they would tell you that there's no way that their life has been made much easier, because they don't get any of that marketing material. There are a couple of, because UNC has 5 large hospitals on their campus. They have a school of medicine. There are some huge catalogs that come into that university. One of them is called PDR, Physician's Desk Reference. Physician's Desk Reference is approximately 6-pound catalog. The School of Medicine has, 150, 200 doctors in it. They'll get 200 of them. And before February 1st, 2016, what would happen is, when those would come in, the driver would take one of those to the department where they were addressed to, and ask the clerical staff, how many of these do you want? We have 150. And the clerical staff would say, don't bring me any. So we're sure that the clerical staff's job has been made more efficient by not having to deal with those pieces. Okay. All right, so now we'd like to ask if there's anybody who has any questions about the problem as it's been defined. If you do have questions, you can type them into the chat, and we'll try to answer them, but we'll give you a couple minutes to give us some feedback if you have any. Okay, I'm not seeing anything come through, so I'm going to keep moving on. All right.
Lee, this is Joe Martinez. Lee, and we do have a comment.
Okay.
And one of them is, we don't deliver marketing mail either. This is great info. And the question here, does this also apply to mail for individual students?
Okay, great question, because that means you're thinking. So I want to challenge you again. The United States Post Office is required to deliver and handle mail for consumers. That means at their home. That's their job. Other than consumers, the United States Post Office has no authority based on the statute. Remember, that mail comes in, it is regarded, although, let's go back, it's regarded as an organization's mail. I know there's part of the 508 Recipient Services statute that says something about hotels and schools, but that contradicts this order because students are considered part of the organization. Now, if they live in housing that is not on campus and is not run by the campus, then, because some people have dorms, residence halls, housing communities that are right along the edge of campus, but they're private, they have mail delivery to them, and so, again, this is anything that comes in that's deemed to be part of your organization can be managed under this statute. Now, what I would say is, if you've decided, okay, I'm not going to deliver marketing mail because to students, let's just take a real quick second and talk about that. In the 1990s or in the early 2000s, when they enacted the law that said you cannot market credit cards to anyone over 21 years of age. If, and I'm dating myself, you were in a mail center that delivered mail to students during the 1990s or any time before, you will know that at the 1st of August, that the credit card companies would just spam student mailboxes. And if you looked at those offers, 90%, 99% of those offers were not for the students that were currently in the room, but they were for former students, okay? So there, you wouldn't want to be putting those items into that box because of the legal issues. Again, those students could not put in a forwarding address or a change of address because the United States Post Office does not recognize that. There are some exceptions in small local post offices where the post office works with the school to forward mail. And those are one-off situations. That is a consumer service that should be provided to consumers, that the post office provides delivery to their home. But the post office cannot manage all their field offices. So there are some smaller field offices that allow that. Now, if you have a box section at your school, and it's a P.O. box section, and that box section was owned by the post office and you took it over, 10 years ago or whatever, there may be some services that are going on. But most of the time, those types of services are not allowed. Anything else, John?
Yeah, we have a two-part question here. One is, first part is, how hard do you think it would be to reach out to the sender? And the second part of that question is, how will that affect if we are not delivering that mail?
Okay, so how hard would it be to reach out to the sender? We're talking about the mailing company or organization who has mailed the piece. If you have the time in your day to reach out to that sender, maybe that would be something that you could attempt to do. I will tell you that I've been working with this one topic for about the past 12 years. I've been to organizations and companies and international headquarters of companies all over the United States to talk to them about this problem, and have ran into people like PDR, Physician's Desk Reference, that says, I don't care, we're going to continue to send it. Now, there are some, and we'll talk about some ways and tools that you may be able to use, and there are some of those things that are on the market today. We'll talk about the best ones and discuss those. But as far as not delivering the mail and whether you would get pushback from a company, I've had over the years probably less than 5 interactions with companies who actually called me and said, you have to deliver my mail at UNC. And I pushed them to the statute, the 508 Recipient Services, and basically told them that they should reach out and speak to their postal rep and find out what the answer is from the post office. I've never had any of those calls come back to me. They don't like it. Understood. We don't want to continue to deliver stuff that's going to go straight in the recycling bin. Now, I will tell you that there are companies out there that have green initiatives, and they work very hard to keep their mailing list up to date, and they use tools to do that, and we'll talk about those tools. And, those types of pieces we do try to deliver, because we know that that company has done their job and spent their money in order to make that list a good list. So, again, it's more about knowing your rights and not being afraid that the post office, number one, is going to come to you and say you've done something wrong, or number two, you're going to get some pushback from a company. And I would just say the best way to manage is to make sure that your immediate supervisor, if you decide to make this change, that you talk to your immediate supervisor, that they understand the problems, they've educated themselves, and then you also reach out to a couple of your customers at your corporation, institution, or business and get their feedback, because their feedback is going to be positive in your favor all the time. Don't send me this stuff. Anything else?
Yep, just one other one that I actually responded to as well, but the person asked, does this also apply to mail for individual students?
Yes. If they live on your campus, they're part of your business. Their mail is actually business mail. I would not ever suggest that you don't give somebody their birthday card that grandma sent with $20 still, because she doesn't believe somebody will steal from the mail. But I would never suggest that you don't deliver the bills for students or their personal pieces, because they are your customer, but at the same time, you get the opportunity to make good, solid business decisions about how you spend your labor and time. It's just like I would never suggest that you stop delivering mail to accounts payable just because you don't want to do it. It's part of your business and it's critical for your business. Although you could make that decision, it would get you in trouble, but I would just suggest that you make good, solid business decisions. And so delivering the material, Trader Joe's, you put the Trader Joe's flyers, they send you current resident, it says and or current resident, and they give you have 1,500 P.O. boxes or mailboxes, and they give you 1,500 of them, and you put 1,500 in the boxes, and you spend your labor to do that, and immediately 300 of them get pushed back through the boxes onto the floor in your mail center. The other 1,200 end up scattered around the recycling bin. So that's just inefficient. So I'm going to move on to best practices. And here are some best practices for delivering or to manage your undeliverable and unwanted mail. So for the, for the 5% who deliver all, this is for you. If you're currently attempting to deliver all or most of your mail, and maybe for that 59%. First thing I would encourage you to do is analyze your mail volume. So, and I'm not talking about count every piece. Have your employees, or if you're close enough to the issue that you actually are in that area every day, do it yourself. For a period of, well, the practice is 21 days. A lot of people don't get through to 21 days because it's like taking an antibiotic. By day 5, you feel better, and so you don't take 7. But 21 days, look at your mail. Let's say you have 4 letter trays and 15 tubs. That would be a small operation. Look at those. Write down that you have 4 letter trays, that you have 15 tubs, and then consolidate quickly by bulk your first class business mail and your marketing mail. And then write down, okay, out of 4 trays, I had 2.5 trays of marketing mail, 1.5 trays of business mail. Out of, 15 tubs, I had 10 tubs of marketing mail. I had 5 tubs of first class mail. Then you can figure out what your labor hours would be saved in the cost efficiency if you did not deliver that mail. And that's something you want to kind of know before you get started with this thing, before you reach out. Let's do our homework. So determine if the place that you work requires approval for how this mail can be handled. And if so, can you approve the change? So speak to your supervisor. Say, this is what I'd like to do. Do we need to get formal approval or not? And if not, can I make that change? And do I need to send you an email? Who do we need to? I would always suggest that you put your request in writing and get a answer in writing, because then in the future things can't come back and bite you. Determine what changes will be required, who will be impacted. So Old Dominion, ODU in Norfolk, Virginia, they began this change about 18 months ago. 2 years ago, I went and visited the school, and we talked about it to the staff. And before we met with the staff, I was in the manager's office, and I was looking at the staff, and I asked him, I said, do you have anybody who works for you that is a retired postal employee? And he said, yes. And I said, based on my observation, those 2 gentlemen right there are retired postal employees. And he looked at me with big eyes, and he said, how do you know? And I said, I can just pick them out. So as we began to talk to the staff about what we were going to do, these 2 men became very agitated. Because why? They're postal employees. And what was their job? To make sure all the mail got delivered. That was their responsibility. So in their mind, this was something that was absolutely wrong, and you couldn't do it because they needed to be able to deliver the mail. So those type of individuals will challenge you. You have to be able to figure out how to deal with them, and we do. We know what to do. One of them was spending 2 hours a day looking up standard rate mail. That's what he did at the end of the day. Well, guess what? We stopped him from doing that, and we found him something more productive to do. So we are going to determine who will be impacted: mail center staff, personnel, faculty staff, We're going to inform the recycling department that from now on the recycling bin is going to be more full than ever. We're going to identify what types of mail we're no longer going to be processed. We're going to stop the lookup and the forwarding and the returning of the pieces that are impacted. Okay? Then we're going to create buy-in from the mail center staff and identify the champions. Recycling is going to be your champion. Sustainability is going to be your champion. And some of the large departments are going to be your champion because you want people to champion what you're trying to do. And then we're going to research the tools available for operations to make a permanent change for these targeted pieces. So this is if we haven't done anything and we're just getting started. So now we have, if you're doing some and you want to do more. So if you're doing some, I think that would be the 29% that's doing some. Let's determine if you need to make your practice official. Does it need to be in writing? Does it need to be approved or communicated? So we need to find that out. You want to report what you already know, the current impact and the potential future impact of the departments and the individuals that are involved. You want to research tools that make it more efficient and effective and affect permanent change. Determine what more can be done to make the process more effective and who that's going to impact. Again, and then we're going to always create buy-in. We're going to create buy-in from the mail center staff and identify our champions. Okay? I think at this point in time, we're going to do another poll, quick poll, about best practices. Correct, Joe? Yeah, there we go. And yeah, I can't see the poll, so you'll have to let me know when it's finished.
Yeah, so currently they're going to answer a poll. Have you currently implemented any best practices for your marketing mail? And we'll give a few moments here and we'll read back the results. Okay, the results are in, and 50% said yes, they currently have implemented some best practices. 23% said no, 14% said I don't know, and 14% say they plan to in the future.
Okay, that's great. That is excellent. So, as you can see, at least 50% of the people on this call are doing something to manage that mail because I think we all recognize this problem. They've decided to be a little bit more progressive with what is happening. Any questions and feedback about best practices before we move on? We're quickly coming. I've got about 10 minutes left. Okay, if you think of something, please feel free to type it in and send it to Joe. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can just type your questions in the chat if there's any.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing we're going to talk about is address hygiene tools, because this all goes back to when we talked about the problem in the beginning. Is the United States Post Office has no way to tell who is in your campus environment. So let's talk about the strengths, the weaknesses, and the relationships. At the top, we have the United States Post Office. Again, they are the one who encourages marketers to send their mail. I can tell you that if every piece of mail that had an endorsement on it went back through the United States Post Office that was not delivered and back through to the end unit, people would pay more attention. But guess what? We don't have time to do all that. And if you send the mail back to the post office in your local area, more than likely they're not going to send it back through their forwarding system. The unit in Chapel Hill actually has a large recycle dumpster in their back door. Okay, so most tools focus on residential, limited coverage for non-postal areas like colleges and universities, military and corporations, peculiar address formats. So I am talking to a group of people currently right now who have the right and role to change how the mail is addressed to your business, and the post office cannot really, if it's a unique zip code, let me go back, say if it's a unique zip code, you can address your mail any way you want to address your mail. It will get to you because of the unique zip code. Whatever you use between the name and the city, state, and zip really does not matter that much for the post office because your unique zip code delivery point verification is -0001. You don't believe me? Look at it. If you have a unique zip code, go look at your mail. You're going to see that your +4s, most of them end with 0001 because that is the +4 for all unique. So that's all the post office is looking at. They're just sorting it to the unique, and they're not looking at your street address. If you have a street address and a +4 that's managed by a local post office, yes, you need to have some addressing within your format that matches what they want, but you can still put department, unit, all these other things in there that have nothing to do with postal address. Okay. And the one other thing is, wouldn't you like to give the individuals at your school the ability to tell you what their preference is for the pieces that they get in their mailbox? And wouldn't you like to have that? Wouldn't you like to have the ability to tell the catalog mailer not to send you the catalog at your house without having to go through the unsubscribe thing on the internet and do all that? Wouldn't that be great? Okay. All right. United States Post Office. Talk about them. National change of address. The product is a secure data set of approximately 160 million permanent change of address records consisted of names and addresses, families, and it says businesses, but that would be the whole business who have filed a change of address with the Postal Service. So, 30 seconds. There was a school there. I know there's one school in the NACMS group. I've talked to that manager on more than one occasion that has had visiting professors put in a change of address when they left, and all of the school's mail got forwarded. There's a school in Oklahoma, a professor left. They put in a change of address for their office in Oklahoma. All the mail for that building started going to Texas because the local post office, someone there did not realize that that was not just a business that was moving, but was a college and university. So those things happen because that's all the post office sees. We're going to look at ecological mail. This is straight off their website. By working together with a coalition of marketers, business individuals, together we'll find ways to create and make things more efficient. Ecological mail used to have a pretty robust system. Their website now is more ads than anything. I was not able to find any way to use a tool, but they are one of the industry tools that were noted. Catalog's Choice sends merchants your catalog opt out. They don't have any control over how or when merchants will process your opt out, and they're constantly trying to work with them to comply. They used to be able to do a little bit of something. I know a friend of mine at Berkeley was using them, or Berkeley actually was using Kellogg's Choice. The departments were trying to use them, but I haven't heard much from them in a while. DMA Choice. DMA stands for Direct Mailers Association. That is an association of all the catalog mailers in the United States. And the way to participate with your fellow catalog mailers is you take your file and you give it to them, and they take a file. Because you give them a file, you have access to a file. Well, guess what? All these files are old. They haven't been updated for businesses, corporations, and institutions in years, and they're just full of bad addresses and full of old people's information. And you can see this says DMA Choice is a residential file. Residential, not business. Then we have Waste-Free Mail. Waste-Free Mail is the system that I've been working with for the past 12 years, and they are now developing and going to release an app within the next 30 days. They are a record management tool, and they work directly with colleges, universities, government, hospitals, any type of business corporation that wants to put in best practices and then begin using their feedback to let the mailers know that there's a problem, okay? So remember that question about how do we let mailers know? Well, Waste-Free Mail has been working on providing that information to mailers for the past 10 years. And if you would like to know more about this process and how it works, you can contact Brynka, and Brynka will provide you with my information, or if they're comfortable with it, my email is on the first slide. You can provide that, get that to me, and I will be more than happy to help you get through this process. This process works. They have about 1.5 million records. They know how to format the addresses to make them CAS certifiable for the United States Post Office. They've done the research to find how the process of reducing waste works. So this would be my suggestion. I'm coming down to the end. So that is the end of the presentation. If you have some questions about industry tools, we only have a couple minutes left. We do have one more poll that needs to go out real quickly about third-party mail management solutions. And the question is, are you using any of these third-party mail management solutions?
While the poll is going on, there was another question, and
Yes,
that question was, how easy is it to determine what is marketing mail?
How easy? Well, so the challenge would be, we talk about marketing mail in this presentation. I would tell you that any mail that is not first class and critical to your business, and now we deliver professional journals because those professional journals help our professors do what they need to do. But when the School of Business, during the summertime, when the School of Business gets 500 Wall Street journals because their spring semester students had to order those as part of a class, we know the students are not there, we don't deliver it. So I would say you just look at your mail stream. All marketing mail would be anything that's over 50% marketing and has more than 10 pages. That's what we consider it. But there could be a postcard. So do you get catalogs from Office Depot? Well, why are you getting a catalog from Office Depot if your preferred e-commerce solution to buy supplies is Office Depot, or what if it's Staples? Why are you getting Office Depot magazine? Why are you getting LL Beans? Why are you getting, how many people like Uline? Raise your hand. I know I can't see you, but yeah, Uline is a biggie. So why are you delivering those pieces when you know that they're immediately going in the trash? So marketing material, again, that's what we're talking about today, but I would just say make some good, solid decisions for yourself.
Okay, great. Our poll answers in as well. About 35%, yes, they use one of these third-party mail management solutions. 55% do not, and 10% plan to in the future. So that was our last poll there as part of the presentation. We really want to thank you, Lee, for this insightful first Brynka Beacon presentation. We appreciate you deciphering these U.S. Post Office rules for us. You've really given our viewers a lot of food for thought and a lot of hopes for saving time in the mail center. So thank you so much for your presentation today.
You're welcome.
So we want to be conscious of everyone's time here. We'll be wrapping this up in the next 3 minutes. So if you have any questions that you didn't get answered or that you think of after this presentation, we ask that you feel free to email them to us at info@brynka.com, and we'll work together with Lee to make sure all of your questions get answered. And lastly, we would just like to turn the presentation over to Brenda Fick, who just has a minute of closing statements here. To you, Brenda.
Hello, thank you, Jen. And I'd like to thank everyone for participating today. We really hope that this first webinar is productive as well as educational. Thank you again, Lee, for hosting this month's topic. And this is the first month, and we are providing a webinar every single month for the last Thursday of every month, which will be a Thursday. So next month, we have Teresa Feist from the University of New Hampshire. Our topic is how to keep your employees motivated. And again, it's scheduled for February 28th. So we hope that you can attend. One more survey that I will ask that is going to be emailed to you. First, how would you rate this seminar? And then the last is how can we improve? Specifically, who would you like to hear from and what topics would you like to talk about? Thank you again so much for joining us. We really appreciate you spending time with us, and we hope to talk to all of you soon. Thank you again.